Okay, so I promise this is the last post about this graduation speech and my focus on homemaking. But before I go there, let me say this. I'm so frustrated. I'm so frustrated with how certain values, traditions, faiths have been appropriated by politics. I just wish people would separate their politics, from the Bible. Because for me, this is really hard for me because number one, as I've said before, I'm not Republican or conservative. I'm also not Democrat. I find them both problematic. But when I defend or speak up about certain values that are dear to me, and they happen to be a conservative or a Republican value, it makes me cringe because I'm like, oh my goodness, if I speak to this, people are going to think I'm on one political side, and I'm not. I come from a community of people who are Democrat and Republican and neither, who have homemakers in it. To me, homemaking is not a Republican thing. My biggest fear is that the media will promote homemaking as a Republican or conservative thing. I'm so afraid of that. My mom, who's a staunch Democrat actually, was a homemaker, woman of God. And I know a lot of people think that you can't be Christian and Democrat, but there are a lot of Democrats who think you can't be Christian and Republican. So we all got issues. But I don't see homemaking as a political thing. I do see it as a faith-based thing. Sadly, Christianity is being lumped in with politics, which I'm sure is making my Lord and Savior cringe because he definitely said, render the things that are Caesar, render things that belong to Caesar, and the things that belong to God, give it to God. He did not believe in mixing the two at all. So I don't even know how people have got into bringing Christianity into politics, but I digress. That being said, that long preface being said, I am so fearful that because of how this is being spun in the media, that the valuing of homemaking will be lost. That people no longer will see it as a beautiful thing. I was talking with my mother tonight and sharing with her about that graduation speech. I played it for her. And she's in her 80s now. She went and reminded me of what she went through in the early 70s, choosing not to pursue a career, but to be a stay-at-home mom. And I remember her sitting me down and said, do not ever call me a housewife. Call me a homemaker. And when I wish I could remember the man's name. When that football player called his wife a homemaker, I said he understood. And sadly, people are going to look at the color of his skin. They're going to look at his faith. They're going to hear some of the things he said in his speech and write him off as being misogynistic, controlling, abusive. I've even seen women post videos insinuating that maybe his wife, Isabel, I remember her name, is in trouble. One woman said, "Are you okay, Isabel? Are you okay?" And she's saying that after the clip was played, that when he described his wife as finding her purpose and her sense of being through being his wife and the mother of his children. And it was like done as a stitch. And the person said, "Isabel, are you okay?" As if her choosing that made her mentally unwell or that he was somehow controlling that. Like, do you understand how beautiful homemaking is? I hope my preface makes you realize I'm not saying this from a political point of view. It makes me kind of fearful that people are going to see me as that. But I have to talk on this. I watched my mother fight the good fight to uphold the choice she made as a legitimate, meaningful career. Let me break it down for you. Okay, let's just say you shouldn't find all your meaning in being a wife or mother. But I know for a fact, I'm one of them because I'm not a homemaker in the sense that my mother was. Women will work their tails off for a male boss who is rude, sometimes says inappropriate things, all to climb the ladder of success. They will submit to his meanness, his rudeness. They will jump through all types of hoops so that man, who is their boss, gives them a promotion. But somehow, I'm hearing women say, I'm more than just somebody's wife. I'm a doctor. I'm a lawyer. I'm a business owner. I'm a teacher. I'm a professor. I'm a this. If you're a woman who's working their way up in academia, you are going through foolishness with some of these male professors and deans and leaders of your department. But you think that gives more meaning than loving on the man who loves you? Come on, y'all, we're not thinking. I would love to be in a position to just serve my husband and care for him. He's my king, and he loves me. And that man obviously loves his wife. The man started crying. He wasn't saying things derogatory about his wife. He was telling the world, I value this woman for making this choice to love me and care for me and hold it down at home. Why do we think that's something to not value? And then we will say, well, you don't mind, like you feel like caring for the needs of let's say you're a boss. You don't mind caring for the needs of your employees, and some of them even get on your nerves. They're rude. They don't respect you. They do their work sloppy, and you got to oversee that. But overseeing your employees is actually seen as more meaningful than loving on your babies who love you unconditionally, would do anything for mommy. What's going on with our values? And the last thing I want to say is, why is this speech creating such an uproar when there's so much foolishness going in the world that we should have an uproar about? Y'all are more upset about that than women we see on the stage stripping before all types of men, as if this is what we should value. This is power right here. This is meaningful work. Loving and caring for your husband and your kids is not meaningful work. But you will do all types of black backflips for people who don't even care about you. But that's where your value lies. Your value lies in a piece of paper that says you're a doctor. That's where your value is. Where the very beings in your household whose souls can live for eternity don't have more meaning than that. When I was working on my doctorate, it took me a long time. It took me 12 years to finish my doctorate. And this is some of the advice I received when I was having babies. I had 3 kids during the course of me working on my PhD. And I heard someone say, why don't you just finish your doctorate so that you can, and then be with your children? And I made it very clear. I said, I don't care if it takes me 30 years. I am not going to put my kids aside just to get this paper, because this paper can burn up, but my children are forever. So I chose to take an extremely slow pace so that I wouldn't miss any first steps, first words, potty training, breastfeeding, going to different extracurricular activities, watching them grow up through every transition of their little lives. I didn't want to miss anything. And you know what? I still got my doctorate. And there was some who said, you should get your career really move forward in academia and do this, that, and the other. I made a choice to choose career paths where I could bring my family right along with me. And you know what? I didn't miss out on any opportunities. I've been offered jobs that were really great, but when I saw that it didn't quite give me the space to care for my kids and to be available to my husband, whom I love with every fiber of my being more than any boss I could ever have, I was like, no, thank you. But other jobs came along. Other opportunities came along where I didn't have to sacrifice my family for my career. It may take you a little longer, but you'll get there. So whether you choose to be a full-time stay-at-home mom or to have a career and you're balancing family, I want to encourage you again. Even if you disagreed, like I did with many of the things the man said, but that thing about homemaking, I'm all about it. I'm all about putting the family first. There's nothing more important than my family, nothing more important than my husband. And I am not ashamed to say that he is my life. After the Lord, my husband is my everything. My children are my everything. And my career, you can always get another career, but you don't get another husband. Not as good as the one I got. And you definitely don't get another set of 3 kids. You could waste all your time in your career. And what happens if you lose your children? All you'll think about is, dang, I wasted all that time fighting a career when I could have been spending time with these children. Don't let society twist your mind up. Don't let the politics just trying to swirl around this homemaking speech make you think that homemaking isn't the most wonderful job there is. Don't get caught up in the media. So I just had to say that. And I promise you, that's my last homemaking speech.